Hello, my name is BMcLaughlin, and today I'm presenting outcome evaluation as value-added assessment from Stufflebeam text. What is evaluation as value-added assessment? Luckily for a lot of us in this course who are teachers, we are actually very familiar with this type of assessment, especially if you are in Colorado and you look at the Colorado Growth Model. Value-added assessment is using and analyzing standardized test data to measure teaching and learning. It is the type of assessment that produces growth scores and can predict growth rather than raw achievement scores. So it is looking at predicted growth and actual growth for students. This type of evaluation can be used to look at long-term impact of teachers and schools on a student's growth. It can also be used to monitor effectiveness of policies and programs. Some states even use it when creating systems of performance pay. So they use student growth and connect it to pay for teachers, and which is extremely volatile politically. It is well funded and supported by many districts and states. Basically, it was developed in 1994, 1995. Sanders and Horn wanted to address the issue of achievement data. Achievement data does not take into account the gains of the low or high achieving students. It looked purely at where a student ended the year and not how much they had grown, and they wanted to address this issue. Questions that address this form of evaluation are as follows from the Stufflebeam text. To what extent are particular programs adding value to student achievements? What are the cross-year trends and outcomes? In what sectors of the system is the program working best and poorest? What are key pervasive shortfalls in particular program objectives that require further study and attention? To what extent are program successes and failures associated with the system's groupings of levels, like middle school, primary, high school? I pulled this image from the Florida Education Association's website to show what it looks like when you are graphing with value-added models, and I think a lot of you, if you are teaching, have seen something similar as expected performance after a period of time, actual performance, value-added, expected growth, etc. So this is just an image of what that looks like, though I think a lot of you have seen this presented to you in your schools as well. So Stufflebeam writes about the advantages and disadvantages of this value-added assessment, and the advantages are the central advantage of outcome monitoring involving value-added assessment is in the systematization and instructionalization of database and outcomes that can be used over time in a standardized way to study and find means to improve outcomes. Okay, so it monitors growth, not just achievement. Standardized, so it's a way to look at data system-wide, which can be difficult when you want to look at a whole system to find something standardized and consistent. And it identifies areas that we need to make needs for improvement. The disadvantages, I think everybody listening to this can probably agree that it is very volatile politically. It places a lot of importance and emphasis on standardized testing and maybe overlooks other areas of education. The approach does not provide an in-depth documentation of program inputs and processes and makes little, if any, use of qualitative methods. Critics of this approach argue that causal factors are so complex that no measurement and analysis system can fairly fix responsibility for the academic progress of individual collections of students to the level of teachers. And I know as a teacher, I also feel this way. How can a program take into consideration that a child is hungry or that maybe they were abused the night before? There's no way to account for these types of personal challenges in these students' lives when setting their growth expectations. Teachers, counselors, and administrators mistrust the fairness of this approach. I think because it's political and it doesn't maybe take into consideration all those other factors. And also it demands a lot of the resources in schools and attention in the media, and even can affect teachers' pay at a certain point. Does Stufflebeam recommend this approach? I would say yes and no. I think they went over the advantages and disadvantages very equally. And so I have my own personal biases when it comes to this, but I think Beam did a good job of looking at both sides. And here are the references. Thank you for listening.